we've had some good times, haven't we, Mr. Oliver?
What's been some highlights?
Oh, I was thinking about this the other day. Even though it was as recent as this year, I've got to say our trip to the Hamptons was definitely memorable.
The Hamptons trip, that was another one, absolutely comic. I mean, you couldn't write some of the holidays that we've been on.
The Hamptons trip, I think that was just because it's something that obviously gets a lot of traction in New York. People think they should go. You know, it's the go-to trip of anyone who lives in New York, I think. The go-to summering holiday. And we had never been.
I've always been intrigued by Long Island. Having family out that way, I often get the Long Island Railroad and I often sort of think how much I'd love to just spend a day getting off at all the little towns along the way and just exploring. Hicksville, Babylon, Amityville, Massapequa. But the Hamptons, to be honest, just never really jumped out at me. I mean, I'd obviously heard about it, but yeah, I was never that drawn to it.
Hamptons is a weird place because it's fueled by the New York elite. You know, it's very social up there.
Where people, they don't go on holiday, they holiday. You know, as a verb. But we thought, you know, it's a rite of passage, New York. New Yorkers go to the Hamptons for summer holiday. We have to check it out.
Naturally, all of us being a bit tight purse-stringed, we thought, how can we do Hamptons on a budget? And naturally, we thought we'd book a really nice house on wheels.
So we hired this obnoxious RV, which was damn near impossible to drive. I actually crashed into a gas station on the way as we were leaving.
And straight away, as soon as we saw it, it was just hilarious, just laughter. As soon as you see that stupid thing pulling up, it was just hilarious.
Hey! Paradise.
It's a wanky bit of kit, that, isn't it? Quick,
Always wears new sunglasses.
I think it was Skitch's fantastic idea.
Because as soon as he thought about a trip on a budget, he was right in there.
Let's camp in an RV in the Hamptons. Could not stick out any worse than that.
We stayed in a huge RV. It was actually quite luxurious and spacious, but I don't think we were cramped for 1 second.
I was quite fortunate. I had there was like a sort of a west wing at the back of the RV. There's a queen bed and a night table, and it was very good.
But we just did it like complete anti-heroes in an RV, staying in my aunt's driveway. I'm going to use that term aunt loosely as well.
There is nowhere you can park a bloody great camper because I like to keep the aesthetic of the place feeling upmarket and posh. You know, all of a sudden Skitch has a family member that lives in the Hamptons. Never heard of this person before. They were American. No mention of the name Skitch. I think he's just decided this poor old lady probably got dementia. We'll just park on her drive and I'll play the role of grandson. Might even get some pocket money out of it. Who knows?
As we got there, we camped out in Skitch's aunt, grandma, relative. I don't even know who she was.
Who was she?
Joan was her name.
Joan is my grandmother's cousin's wife.
So, up we rock to Joan's house. Joan's not there. Perfect. Of course she's not. Why would she be? So her poor little housemaid comes trotting out and says, "You can't park here." Probably, fair warning, as we don't know who you are. Skitch says, "Don't worry, boys, I'll handle it." Off he pops to have a word with Gertrude. Gertrude must have been about a 70-year-old Filipino lady, absolute character.
Filipino lady who helped look after Joan because she's quite elderly. Who's an entirely different story altogether. We'll get back to her in a second, but
She's just giving him his car keys.
Fucking that's the result.
For their car.
Transport for the week.
Either way, so we park our bloody great RV, run a power cord inside, get some electricity, and I think there was a hose somewhere at some point or something as well. And then Joan comes home, and she said, "Oh yes, sure, I know you, Christopher."
Well, see, Joan was great about the whole thing because she likes the company, I think.
Either way, naturally, her daughter turns up shortly after, as there are strange men staying on my drive. Daughter, what's going on? So she had to come and sniff us out.
So I had to her daughters had to broker it though. I had to speak to them, and there wasn't really any humming and hawing, but it was more like, is this going to work? Is this going to part? Are you going to fit in there? and that kind of thing.
It must have been so weird for them to come back and just find us happy few, us band of brothers, just camping on her driveway. Not a clue who we are.
I think the whole experience was quite positive.
Realised we were harmless, and we were just there for a laugh. So she let us stay, good-natured woman, whatever her name was.
But she was actually very welcoming. She let us camp on her drive, let us use her water, let us eat her bagels.
Joan, and family, if you ever need a place in New York City, my basement is yours to have.
So Hamptons, again, it was just one thing after the next.
Actual Hamptons trip was very nice. We got to see how the other half live.
I love your establishment, I love the sign, I love the outdoor area, I had such a great time. What's the name for
We went out to some wanky beach bar where all the Turtle Bay crowd go, all the dude bros high-fiving and chest bumping and bro-duding.
I mean, the kids I work with and all their mates were just there. You couldn't avoid them. It's like Murray Hill and Kips Bay on Thames.
Drunken tuna? Sloppy tuna, that was it. We told you have to go there. $20 entry fee for a shitty beach bar to then pay for extortionate rate for drinks. I don't know why people go to the Hamptons. Then we went that evening to a posh hotel. Sat at the top of the cliffs, and there was a DJ, and there was a nice warm fireplace. We did not pack appropriately, by the way, because we thought we were going to the beach. So we just thought, oh yeah, we'll go out in shorts and t-shirts. Turns out it gets quite cold in the evening. A little bit civilized. Bought a few bottles of wine.
Went to a couple of fancy places, Gurneys, where we met a lovely Kazakh girl called Hyena. Lovely laugh.
Enter Hyena and Co. Hyena and Friend. Hyena was Kazaki, so we decided Pete would be Kazaki. He can blend in anywhere, any Pan-Asian area.
She was very nice. She was like very chatty, very welcoming, just like talking to us, just genuinely interested in what we had to say. And I guess she was quite attractive as well, which unusual for us lot. They became a bit of our crew for the weekend. We met up with them on the Saturday night as well, and yeah, had a very lovely time.
Yeah, I think the Hamptons royalty really kind of admired our bohemian approach.
Very bohemian.
You can tell.
They're
the
sleeping
Dippin'
in a
Dots are
fucking
giving
RV.
away. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong
Babe,
with
shall I
our
come back to
mobile
my RV
palace.
tonight?
Yeah.
I know. If the RVs are rocking.
Our accessible luxury.
It was only the part-timers that sneered at us. You know, as they say, the booze come from the cheap seats.
What happened next? The rest of the evening's a bit of a blur. We went to some bars or some clubs or something, and then we had pizza at home in our RV. Woke up next morning, first thing you need, obviously, wake up in the searing heat in a sweatbox with pizza grease everywhere is a White Claw. So 18 of those later, we decided let's go down to Surf Beach, something beach, North Beach, Pepsi, no, don't tell me. Navy Beach, that was it. Navy Beach. Actually my favorite spot of the whole holiday. Went to Navy Beach and just sort of sat in the sun and drank loads of drinks and had a great merry old time. Very, very sophisticated. Hyena and Friend turned up again. No idea what Friend's name was. And we had a nice night.
I reckon it's actually impossible, so you're
It's definitely possible. Like someone's done it before, but you gotta do it. Okay. You might hold it with one hand. Would the owner of the red Vauxhall Astra please remove their vehicle? Come on, let's go.
I went to Rushmeyer's that evening. Rushmeyer's is the place where you have to go when you go to the Hamptons. Queued for hours on end to watch a bunch of spoilt brats tip off the bouncer on their way to $100 entry to skip the queue. But we said no, sir, not for us. We're gonna queue up and wait for 3 hours to get in.
part of the fun was honestly just laying about Joan's house. As soon as she would leave with her, I think it was her daughter and her son-in-law, we would kind of really, you know, just regress into horrible English people. Just beer bellies were out, shirts were off, people were like kicking the ball against the wall, throwing beers at each other, trying to like kick the ball through the door. I think at one point Skitch was even just sitting in her wheelchair, just like using that as his little porch dwellings for the afternoon, just like slapping his belly. Truly disgusting behaviour.
I think the neighbour's dog showed up. To be fair, I think to most people it looked like we were just perpetually locked out of the house and were waiting for someone to return with a key, because we were just sort of lounging about, loitering actually, probably more like it.
Little facts just for Rob on request here. We have the lovely black watch tartan blanket here. Let's get this close up on the label. Whitney, as in the Whitney by-election, made in England. Navy blue and green, Queen's tartan. See you later.
And then I guess the other surprising part of the trip was, it shouldn't have been surprising, but it was, where we just had we're having a lovely family dinner. We thought we'd do a barbecue for Joan and her daughter and her son-in-law, just as a thanks for letting us stay. And Gertrude came out, again, lovely Gertrude. And we're all just sitting around the table chatting. We found out Gertrude was from Queens. And then suddenly, literally out of nowhere, she just we got onto topics, I think, of just talking about the subway. And like, you know, it's a classic point of something you can bond over, just how bad the New York subway was. And we were kind of like, you know, riffing, saying like, oh yeah, the times, they take so long. They never arrive on time, unreliable. And Gertrude just comes out with, and everyone just stops dumbfounded. And Joan's daughter-in-law, again, very, very, you know, politically correct woman, first, you know, tried to laugh it off, just like, oh, what'd you like? But then Gertrude that was it for her. The floodgates were open. She just kept going. And
yeah, I mean, it all got a little bit heated. And almost just like that, Joan's granddaughter pops out with a violin, starts playing some beautiful music, and all of a sudden sort of like, you know, order is restored, we're all one again, we're all sort of one nation, one people.
hey. I think there's a video of it somewhere, so look out for that one.
And then what happened when you were driving home with Gertrude?
She hopped in the RV. It was a bit like the Terminator, you know, when he comes on, or the Simpsons version of the Terminator with the golf clubs, where she just clacks in and gets in there. I'm kidding, we offered her a lift. But she needed to get back to the train station, so hopped her on. She brought her little Zimmer frame, brought her bag, hopped in, sat in the front seat up with Uncle Bradders. And then, yeah, we drove to the station, she hopped off, and then that was the last we ever saw of her.
Yeah, thinking back on it, the Hamptons was, you know, very expensive and pretty shit, but at the same time, I don't think I've ever laughed so much. It was just non-stop sort of lad camaraderie, cracking jokes left, right, and center, drinking beers, and it was a good old trip. Again, a very blurry one.
And yeah, we spent too much, we drank too much, we ate too much, we embarrassed ourselves too much, and there were fun times. It was very nice, other than getting a fucking tick bite. Yeah.
It might be a good fucking movie after all this, Rob. A lot of footage going on.